Okay, so, yeah, this is the first time I've probably done what I consider to be my real practice, my personal practice. There won't be certain accoutrement in it. I am on what is normally my altar table, but it also makes a good practice chair. I'm going to explain exactly how this practice works. I do not, however, necessarily expect you to practice it with me while I'm doing this. I recently listened to a podcast and it was talking about somebody's Kundalini awakening experience. Also, just technical issues or whatever. If the music is too annoying or if it's not coming through, eventually I am going to be live streaming from live streaming software like OBS, and the music will be more adjusted and all of that. Please let me know if there are any issues, but yeah, I'm still just like working this out. This is casual. I do have some things planned for us today in this whole event, but I am not like going from any particular script. I do best when I just do things off the cuff on the fly. All right. Interestingly enough, that is also what this practice is about. It is about spontaneity and flow. I will be describing the practice, as I said, but I will not be necessarily expecting you to do it with me. Some people, as I was saying, I was recently listening to a podcast and somebody had this Kundalini awakening experience, I think in the early 2000s or whatever, and it was on accident. And they went through several types of hell because Kundalini is not to be trifled with. This practice that I'm going to show you, it tunes into the same type of energy in a sense, but it is not the same practice. I do not call it Kundalini. That would be incorrect, all right? It is what I've come to refer to as the Dai Chi force. That is the sort of spiraling magnetic force between yin and yang, between those two poles, between those two extremes of energy. And I feel like it's a much safer practice in general because you are working with the flow of chi, with the flow of energy through your body. And as you do that, you move and you shake and you get things out. Kundalini is about arousing this force, which is essentially has the same origin as the Dai Chi force. It is the same thing, but it's a whole mode, it's a whole modality, it's a whole system, it's a whole tradition around that. You are not even supposed to attempt to arouse Kundalini energy in your body until you have gone through tons of purification. Physical purification, physical cultivation exercises like certain types of yoga, mastered certain pranayama exercises, etc., etc., etc. There's also a whole religious aspect or spiritual aspect to it. Some people also believe that Kundalini is supposed to be worshipped. I do not really, I don't vibe with the idea of worship. You know, I was raised in a Christian cult, and it was always, oh, you know, this big fearful thing that's in front of us, and I just don't like that. For me, Taoism works a lot better. This practice came from Taoist practices that I learned almost 20 years ago now. So I've been practicing this for a very long time. If you are not new to my work or my YouTube channel, you will have heard me refer to it as spontaneous adjustment, qigong, blah, 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 all these different things. Sometimes I would just call it my shaking practice, and that kind of thing. It was packaged to us by a white guy who called it a form of Neigong. It is not. Negong is internal circulation exercises, internal skill. It literally means internal work or internal skill. And you do and should practice forms of Negong or internal circulations of energy and so on after or during this practice. I would say after. But the practice itself is just part and parcel with certain Taoist schools of thought. Okay, so having said all of that, the other aspect that we're going to explore during this, well, two things. The other thing is that it led me to a kind of spontaneous shamanism. All right, so it gets a lot deeper, a lot different than what people were experiencing before. You can keep it light, and it's just sort of blissful feelings and ecstatic feelings and good stuff. And the energy, pathways and chakras and meridians and all the things that will open up and be amazing. All right. But for me, it connected me to my roots and really got deep and down and dirty, in the best way. The other thing that it can do is allow you to channel, allow you to attach or tune into spirits, into different types of energy, and that type of thing. It's strange to say, especially to a Western mindset these days, that this practice in particular, when it comes from certain Taoist schools of thought, led me to a sort of spontaneous shamanism. A lot of people do not like the fact that I call myself a shaman, even though I am a shamanic practitioner, in a lot of other ways that have nothing to do with this practice, because I'm a white guy. I also like to say, hold on there. I'm half Mexican. I have native roots. And so if that's the only thing that matters to you, then that's taken care of. However, shamanism belongs to everyone, or it doesn't belong to anyone at all. It is a human thing, and it gets us to our roots. Having said that, shamanism is an infinite variety of shamanistic practices. Some consider themselves keepers. Some styles are more in line with the Carlos Castaneda type stuff, and you're just this lone spiritual warrior, and death is always at your back, and you must, all this weird type of, I don't know. The shamanic lines that I have trained myself in are more the Toltec shamanic lines, and that comes to the discussion of Xayun Waho, which is the energy that I used to call the Akadua, and all of the practices and the modalities that it has led me to through my spiritual journey. Okay, so what we do in this practice. First, we're going to talk about that. I do not ever do this practice without setting up a sacred space and without setting up protections within that sacred space. For you, I'm going to take you through 2 simple meditations in order to energetically protect yourself, and I would recommend both of them. That you do this, you don't even have to do the ecstatic shamanic practice or healing work, to do these meditations. You can just do these meditations, this sort of like energy work and focusing your awareness, your conscious awareness, before you do anything. And if you do any type of energy healing, like Reiki or whatever, doing these practices first, it's going to ramp everything up for you. All right. And just a quick comment about the modern style, Western style of Reiki. People just go into it like it's magic. I have this magic power now and I'm going to heal you. No, 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 no. I do not agree with that personally. You might have your own style, grounding, focusing, cultivating energy within yourself. More the Taoist energetic stuff, connecting yourself to the earth, to the air, the space around you, to the cosmos, the heavens, and circulating that energy within. If you do any of those practices just for a little while, 10 minutes, at the least, all of your Reiki practices or your energy practices will just be so much more powerful and so much better. You will also protect yourself. You will protect your clients. Everybody will have a much richer experience because of that. All right. So one of the exercises that we're going to do, you're also going to see in the Friday free Xayun Waho energy healing sessions that I'm doing every Friday, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. You will see those, and one of them is the sort of Yuan Shun concept of the original spirit, and we start at the area of what the New Agers would call the Soul Star chakra. And we pull down a sheath of golden energy around us. I really like having the camera back this far because you finally get to see what I'm supposed to be doing. I've been doing these things like way close up and you can't really see where my arms are going. So I'm happy to be doing this in this fashion. And we're going to work with that. That helps to sort of galvanize the luminous energy field, just adding your conscious awareness to the luminous energy field. Once you get to a certain point, you can just be like, I am activating this thing, and it will get there. You can add energy to it, you can bolster it, all that kind of stuff. But we're going to take you through a very specific exercise to do that. Then we're going to go even further down, and we're going to literally connect our heart spaces into the center of the earth. This is something that I have learned in all of the types of energy work that I have done over the years, that when, let's just say, you're just beginning and you're studying Qigong and they say something like sink your mind into the belly, sink your mind into the lower dantian, sink your mind into the middle dantian, whatever it may be, they do not mean lightly thinking about that space. They do not mean visualizing that space and, okay, now my mind is sort of in it. Your consciousness is non-local, all right? It does not exist in your head. It does not exist anywhere. It's just there or not there. When you are choosing to concentrate your awareness on a particular point, it literally moves to that point. So when we're talking about something that is non-local and then it is becoming local because we are giving it a locality, giving it a physical place, a physical point, your awareness, your conscious awareness is moving to that point. It is very difficult for most people to move their conscious awareness beyond the body, all right? This is something that we learn in the different practices that we're doing. Eventually, you will be able to move it all the way up there into the cosmos, or as the Taoists would term it, the heavens. When they say heaven, they don't mean they just mean the celestial realm, the cosmos, etc. And we will be moving it down into the center of the earth. So when we are talking about connecting our heart space or our conscious awareness or whatever it may be to the center of the earth, we are literally moving that energy, that focused energy down into the center of the earth. As you do that, whatever you choose to connect your conscious awareness to, it will begin to cultivate energy with and for that thing. So lower dantian, that's where the energy starts mixing. Middle dantian, that's where the energy starts mixing. Center of the earth, that's where the energy starts mixing. Okay? Again, the simple phrase is energy flows where mind goes, or any variation of that. That's all fabulous. Okay, so let's just go ahead and start out. We're going to do the first meditation that I mentioned. Then we're going to do grounding our heart space into the center of the earth. As you learn to ground your heart space, move your heart space into the center of the earth, not just the heart, but just your conscious awareness, your original spirit, all mixed up together, all of your senses mixed up together. That is original spirit, or Yuan Shen. And as you move that into a certain place, that's where energy begins to move and flow and cultivate. All right, so that's what we're going to do. First, we're going to do the Soul Star Chakra meditation. And all you're going to do is intend that your awareness is now centered perfectly in the Soul Star Chakra. It's about 6 to 8 inches above the head, above the crown. You don't have to visualize it. You don't have to think about it. Feel it. You want to constantly feel the energy. So just be aware of it. Be aware of the space. Try to move your awareness beyond your head, beyond the top of your head, beyond your crown, and up to that point. Again, that is difficult at first. If you've been doing this stuff for a while, you probably won't have a problem with it. You can smile lightly and it opens things up. I know it sounds silly, but it's very true. And then we are intending that center of our consciousness, coalesced types of awareness. We're just going to meditate there for a little while. This is the diamond mudra. This is the one I recommend for doing opening energy work, and this is how we open any practice, all right? So just meditate up there for a little while throughout the entire practice, unless you start doing spontaneous movements with me. Your breathing will just be low and slow into the lower abdomen, as low and slow and relaxed as possible, okay? So just meditate with that space for a little while. Ultimately, the spontaneous movement practice is about intention. So when we're doing intention work, I like to use the phrase smile and know it. That means I am intending to move my conscious awareness to the Earth Star chakra. I give myself a little physical smile and, that is happening now. That's all it takes. It won't be very powerful at first if you're not used to doing intention work, but eventually it will just be zoop, and you'll feel it. You'll actually feel it. So this is why I don't like to visualize. I don't like to do other types of meditation like that. I just like to smile and know it. Just intend and let it happen, okay? We'll get more into the mental processes that go along with this ecstatic shamanic healing or the spontaneous movement practice as we go along, okay? Also, one thing, especially when you start to move energy, especially with the spontaneous flow of energy, of the Dai-Chi force, the spiraling force that you're going to be keying into in order for energy to move through your body, do not get distracted by pretty lights. This is one place that I constantly differ or depart from modern New Agers, is that they're always looking at the things that they experience. Don't look at the things that you experience. If you see stuff, that's not the point of meditation. That's not the point of anything. If you're specifically trying to get some information and have that kind of experience, then sure. That's not the point of this. We are just becoming aware of a specific space where consciousness goes and how it exists, how it perceives, how it observes in that space. Always different chakras, different spaces, different places, different energy centers, and so on. That's all we're trying to do. And we're literally trying to coalesce our awareness there. Once we have done that, you might notice there's this sort of golden light. This is what we want. After it builds up for a while, we're going to take a page from Qigong, and we're going to slowly move our hands upward. And we're going to let it focus there just a little bit more. Again, smile and know it. You are perceiving from the soul star chakra. I don't even like calling it that, but I don't know what else to call it. And eventually, we're going to extremely slowly allow that energy to spread around the body, around all of the bodies, around the energy bodies, and become a giant golden egg that is encompassing us, all right? So we're doing that, and we're just letting it flow down. Again, you don't have to visualize, just try to feel it, be as slow as possible, breathe as slow and possible. Then when we get all the way down, you will end with your hands in sort of this position, pointing between the legs, basically where the tailbone would point to the floor. That's the point you want to point at with your hands. And you want to anchor that golden egg or golden sheath. This is the luminous energy field, the luminous egg, as they call it in certain types of shamanism. You want to anchor that, just pointing down with your, mostly like with your, these two fingers, but still open. Anchor that in the Earth Star chakra. And you want to sit there with that point, moving your conscious awareness now. You are starting with your conscious awareness here, soul star chakra, and you're moving the sheath slowly as possible, all the way down, right? Then you're moving your conscious awareness to the earth star chakra, all the way down there. Oof. This is creating a complete luminous energy field, all right? So I'm anchoring here, building up energy, spreading it down slowly as possible, breathing as low and slow and still as possible, and then earth star chakra. And again, as you move your conscious awareness to these different points, that's where the mixing starts happening. That's where the cultivation of energy starts happening, okay? So just concentrate on the earth star for a bit. I'm going to check the comment over here. Oh, lovely. Thank you, Leon. Okay, so again, centering our awareness in the earth star chakra. Then, once we're done with that, we're going to slowly move our hands towards the heart space, okay? Now, the middle fingers are touching the center of the chest, the center of the heart space. Very lightly, smile. Smiling opens the crown chakra. Now center your awareness in the center of your chest. You can think about it as the heart chakra if you want to, or you can think about it as the middle dantian. Or you can just dispense with all of that and just concentrate on the middle of your chest, or right where your fingers are touching, right here. Again, the touch and the pointing to the different points, pointing to points, this helps connect you. This helps pull your mind to that thing. We are trying to take something spiritual, something energetic, and connect it with something physical, right? And so that's not such an easy thing to do. If you visualize, it's still energetic, it's still mental, it's still spiritual in that way. And so connecting your energy to the actual feeling of it is really where the money is, okay? I firmly believe that. You're doing this, you don't want to get too with your chest breathing. You're still breathing down here, but you're concentrating your awareness here, right? If this starts to get too much pressure or too much heat or feels uncomfortable, then just slowly move your hands down. And eventually we're going to move them back down to where they were before, pointing at that spot where the tailbone would meet the floor. You do not do the shaking practice. You can do these meditation exercises, this energy work that we're doing now in any position. You could do it in the lotus position, but we don't do the ecstatic shamanic healing work or the spontaneous movement work in a lotus position. It just doesn't work. You want to be in a seat and you want the tailbone to be slightly up, okay? So your butt needs to be a little bit higher than the level of your knees, all right? So you might have to get a cushion, you might have to change chairs, you don't want the chair to be able to move. I was practicing on a chair over here that has wheels on it. Absolutely terrible, not recommended. Also, you don't want it to have arms because you need to be over here and down here and all this kind of crazy stuff, all right? So, what are we doing now? We've concentrated energy into the heart space. Now we're going to move that heart space to the center of the earth. You don't even have to think about moving it there. You have to intend that it is there. Okay? So again, if you just want to smile and know it, it just locks into place, and then you allow it to happen. This is the absolute key and secret to this type of energy work. Not just the practice that we're doing right now, but the entire ecstatic shamanic movement practice that we're going to be doing in a moment. This is the key. I never say key or secret because usually it's not that simple. It is all about intention, but intention is, it is a yang process. It is something that is, this is what I am doing, and it is clear and it is concise and crisp, right? That is a yang aspect of the mind. The yin aspect of the mind is letting it happen. Okay, so you have to be equal parts concentrated and aware, and you have to be accepting, yielding yin. Okay, so yang, aware of the thing. You do not let your mind turn off during the shaking practice, during the ecstatic movement practice. You do not go, oh, and completely give yourself up. That will make you pass out. All right. Interesting things can happen if you just do yielding, acceptance. You have to be equal parts, though. All right. So you have to have the intention, otherwise you will lose yourself. But you also have to have letting go. All right. So hands pointing down, and we're moving the heart space there, or we're just intending that it is there in the actual physical center of the earth. All right. So sit with that for a little while. Again, you can just smile, intend, and let it happen. You don't have to picture yourself in the center of the earth. Just know that you are. When your heart is in exact alignment with the center of the earth, right there. Okay? Breathe low and slow. Check your posture. Push the arms down, the shoulders down. A little bit of tension to straighten up the upper back and the neck, and stick the chest out slightly. If you forget, if you lose yourself, if you get tired, lazy, distracted in your mind, then just return heart to the center of the earth. That's my intention. And smile and let it happen. As you do that, I am going to start doing energetic protections and sacred space for you. After you've done all of that and you are at the point of connecting your heart space to the center of the earth, that is when I consider you to be ready to receive or give energy work. Okay? So you can use this in your own practice, or you can use it, and you will use it if you, I hope you're using it when you watch my videos and practice with me, okay? So, all you have to do is continue doing what you were doing, knowing that your heart is in perfect alignment with the actual physical center of the earth. This is an energetic thing. It is a physical, energetic thing and process. This is not some, airy-fairy woo-woo idea of, I am in perfect harmony with Mother Earth or whatever. You are, but there doesn't have to be any personality construct attached to it. There's no divinity. It's not divine, all right? But it is earthly. It's a physical thing that we're doing. That's why I like Taoist energetics, is it kind of leaves the, the the associations out of it. These are physical, energetic forces that are also spiritual. There is no difference, right? And so I don't really need to I'm connecting with Gaia and that kind of thing. That's your jam. That's great. That's wonderful. However, these are human associations that we put on it. If you choose to view it from that lens, you will have a different experience from physically moving your conscious point of awareness, your energy centers, to the center of the earth so that they are in harmony, so that they are synced up. This is how we cultivate energy, all right? Continuing with that, what I'm going to do is the 8 guardians protection. The 8 guardians come from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can think of it as the Bagua, different directions. Each of those directions or aspects create a sort of sphere all the way around you, okay? They are different aspects of you. They are different aspects of creation. You can think of them as having personality constructs, but it's not necessary. They are forces that are constantly moving through us. We get out of balance, they get out of balance, bad stuff starts to happen. So what we're doing is centering ourselves in the center of the earth. Each of the 8 forces or 8 directions, I call them the 8 guardians, are constantly moving through us, of course. But what we're doing is building up pure energy. In this case, I'm using pure Xayun Waho, and sort of feeding them so that each of those lines is clear, and we're doing intentions for all of that good stuff. You don't have to worry about that. Just continue with the heart space, the center of the earth. All right? I'm going to do my thing and send out lots of energy. It will probably also turn into what I used to call light language. Now I prefer just to call it shamanic vocalization, just because it's what naturally happens. This is why I say the ecstatic movement practice turned into a spontaneous shamanism for me, because this is what would happen. These things would just start coming out. It doesn't necessarily come from any being out there. You can, once you have the ability, choose to channel light language from Lemuria or whomever, Jesus, Krishna, etc., etc. And that's all wonderful and great. Believe me, I've had wonderful success doing light language activations for people in the past, but it just seems to be kind of scattered and crazy for people now, and that's not what I'm looking for. This is just a reaction to energy moving through my body, and it helps attune us to the energies that my intention is directed at. Okay, so you can think of it as light language from the 8 guardians. I don't really care. This is just what's going to happen. All right. Xayun Waho. Stovi Xayun Ishke. Xayun Stovi Ishke. Xayun Stovi Ishke. Xayun Stoviške. Xayun Waho. Also, for any of these sessions and any of these events, you're absolutely welcome to do your own protections, your own rituals, your own setting up of sacred space. It just makes it more powerful. So right now, I'm just sending y'all Xayun Waho, no particular aspects, with the intention to nice flow happening right now with the 8 guardians protection. All right. Well, this isn't even the practice. That's what I love about this stuff. I call this the boring stuff. This is what it takes to get going. This is what it takes to do this stuff, right? All right. So I do it properly. I've known people who have gotten entity attachments from having Reiki attunements, and not good ones, all right? Because people do not respect this stuff enough. They just think that it's magic, It can be magical, it can be ecstatic, it can be blissful, it can be joyous, it can be powerful and divine and all of that. And that's the point, whether it's Reiki or Xayun Waho or the ecstatic shamanic practice that I'm going to show you in a minute. The problem is that people do not ground themselves, they do not cultivate energy within, they do not still their minds, and they don't do protections, all right? I used to be against doing protections. I was like, I don't care, I'm amazing, I can do whatever I want, and it's just not, it's not a good idea. Okay. Lots of chanting. Those were my own personal mantras during the 8 Guardians protection stuff, by the way. You don't have to use them. I don't expect you to. No shamanic vocalization stuff came through. That will happen when I start doing this next process. So, we are going to get in it. You can wake yourself up a little bit. Ugh, flabby arms, don't worry. I'm getting back in shape. I used to call it getting into shaman shape, and that's the way I think about it. I've been working out every day this week. Time to give up all the bad habits. It's 2025. Part of the reason that I wanted to do this is because we had a pretty rough start to the year. I live in New Orleans with my partner. We had a beautiful New Year's, decided to forego seeing the fireworks in the French Quarter and went to Bayou St. John instead, and just hung out and drank some beer and played with some sparklers and watched some fireworks, and it was great. Went home, cuddled, fell asleep, woke up the next morning, and there had been this terrorist attack, whatever. So all of this kind of stuff is just wonky. It's a crazy freaking world right now. I think what people need is some ecstasy, not the drug, all right? Clean living, all of that good stuff, more exercise, more nature, all of that is great. But what people really are missing, I believe, these days is real spiritual experience, And that's what I mean by ecstasy, by ecstatic embrace, by ecstatic shamanic work, all of that stuff. That's the purpose of the things that I'm doing right now. So we're going to explore this practice together. You do not have to practice it with me, okay? Again, the whole point of it is intention. Eventually, it is intentionally, eventually. What I am intending while I practice this craziness that you're about to see is to help heal you. All right, so I am sending energy to you with this practice. You will hear the vocalizations. I will be moving around like a crazy person. Again, always know that I am always in control. You do not give yourself up completely and just, into this weird. People hate it when I use the word trance because they assume that I'm just this medium and things are coming in. I do not work with spirits, not lightly. I do not let anything get into my space that I don't want to be there. We are working with forces. We are working with pure energy. The energy that is the spiraling or shaking force, I have to move that over, is in the Taoist tradition, or at least in Neidan, called Tai Chi. That is the same thing as Tai Chi, and that's a whole different practice, though. Tai Chi Chuan is what it's called, right? It's really in modern Chinese pronounced Daiji, like a D and a J, not Tai Chi. But it depends on the region of China and your accent and dialect and all this stuff. Not going to go into it. All right, so the Tai Chi force is the spiraling force between yin and yang. Okay, so there's the world of yin, there's the world of yang, and there is the force between them. Their interaction creates the Tai Chi force. How am I going to do this? It's just not very stable. Anyway, that's what we're working with, okay? It's not the same as Kundalini, but it has the same kind of serpenty, spirally, snaking stuff happening. I could never call it Kundalini because its origins are beyond that. It is a force of the universe. It is not something that's necessarily coiled at the base of the root chakra, and then you have to, go through all these purifications first and direct it up specific things, and have all these experiences and heat. You will have all this heat and different things moving through you, different sensations, ecstatic feelings, blissful feelings. But the point is to get into this larger, wider, universal flow of Tai Chi energy. Okay, so that's what we're working with. In order to facilitate that energy moving through us, we first start the way we already started, by focusing on the center of the earth. The more you focus on the center of the earth, the easier it will become to awaken that flow within you. Okay? The other way that we do it is by this posture. All right? This posture, and again, this is not the open-handed stuff that you see in some of the other videos that really allows energy to move out of your hands, closed, at least at the beginning. And what you're doing is letting energy build up between these two hands, between your two hands, and in this region right here, okay? So we're just going to concentrate on that for a little while. And as you do it, it will start to build up, and you'll start to feel some wonky movement between the hips, all right? Now, again, you don't have to practice this with me, especially if you don't have a proper chair, proper space, or you're just kind of like watching this casually. You can come back to it and do it later if you want to. The point is to build up the energy flow. Energy is flowing from your arms out of your hands all the time, right? And if you do this, it's going to move down here. You do this, it's going to move up here. You do this, it's going to coalesce around your head. You do this, it's going to coalesce right here. You do this, it's going to coalesce all the way between here. Okay, you get it. All right, so right hand or left hand, depending on which is your dominant side, it doesn't really matter. At the one hand, I'll just say that at the level of the chest or the heart, and the other hand at the level of the navel. All right, and so we're letting that energy build up and build up and build up. You can think of one arm or hand and one flow of energy as being yin and the other as being yang. Eventually, we will move it this way. You'll see this kind of stuff done a lot in Qigong practices. And this is exactly that. We are balancing the two forces within our own bodies. For this practice, we want it to build up so that it makes movement happen. There is a phrase in Taoism, which is that stillness comes from movement and movement comes from stillness. This is, again, the beautiful polarity and what's the word I'm looking for? Symmetry in Taoist thinking, all right? One thing always leads to the opposite, and then that opposite leads back to the other thing, and this is how the world works, right? You can apply that formula to everything in life, So that's what we're doing. We're allowing this energy to build, and you just want to sit with it for a little while and just allow it to flow. You don't even have to sense it that much, but eventually you do want to get this sort of rocking motion going, all right? And eventually, when you start to feel comfortable with it, you are not doing it on purpose, you're just allowing it to happen, all right? And then you're going to lift up your heels. You're going to bring your feet back so that you're sort of on your tippy toes, and your toes are under your buttocks, basically. So you have to have a chair that also works in that regard. So you're lifting them up so that your legs and your knees can bounce like this. Again, this is a seated practice. You can't really do this in a lotus position or whatever, because the point is not to build up energy within the body. The point is to tune in to the Daichi force and allow it to move and shake through you. All right. So once again, it is a spontaneous flow. That's the point. And we need it to allow the body to move. So you're not making these motions on purpose. And it might not be easy at first. I'm not saying this. I've been practicing this for a long time. When you do this and you allow the energy to build, you will start to see and feel the legs bounce and move like that. All right. There are a lot of different styles of this type of stuff. One of them is Seiki Jitsu. There's no postures that I know. I think you just like sit like with the fists or hands like this and kind of like get into this bouncy, spontaneous thing that goes on. That's one style. There's another one I think called swaying qigong or something, and it's a standing practice, I believe. This is the one that I was taught, and it was taught to me wrong. So there was no theory, there was no mention of the actual force that's moving through you. Again, it was delivered in a Western style package by a white guy who was just like, this is magic, and you get this transmission, and now you have the ability to do this magical practice, and it was just this quick route to enlightenment. All right, that's a dangerous way to proceed to frame things, especially with no framework of actual theory behind it. So I did research and I did practice and research and practice for years and years and years before I was actually comfortable talking about this stuff to other people, because it can be dangerous, right? You can attach yourself to different energies that you might not be comfortable with. That's why we do everything that we did at the beginning of this event. That's why we do the grounding. That's why we do the shielding. That's why we do the sacred space. That's why we do the protections with the 8 guardians. All of it, to me, is absolutely necessary. All right? You safe now. No big deal. All right? So lifting up the feet like that, and we're going to be in this posture. And eventually, we'll just open the hands a little bit and let the energy flow. Now, I'm going to let this happen. And I'm going to, again, my intention is to send energy to you and heal you. It will probably get a little freaky at first. And also, I don't do this in front of people, so I might be a little embarrassed at first. This is the first time that I've really talked about exactly what this is and how it works and let myself go. So I'm just going to do that for a bit. Also, this music isn't loud enough. So this is the practice. feet on the ground. Okay, so just a couple comments about what you just saw and heard. Again, you have to have equal parts. This is my intention. I am keying onto this energy. I'm being aware of it all the time and allowing it to happen, allowing this energy to move and flow through you. All right. The spontaneous shamanic vocalization, sometimes it can be something like light language, I guess, and glossolalia, and all this weird nonsense, which is perfectly healing and amazing. It's just what comes through you, right? Or sometimes it can be like, it's this weird, like, singing almost, or some kind of strange chanting, all right? That's what comes through me. Yours might be different, all right? It all has to do with your lineage, your genetic background. I know people don't like to talk about that, but it's true. And your spiritual virtue. Thank you. I agree. Quite groovy. That was another point, spiritual virtue. And that's not a thing that people like to talk about. I'm not going to go into that, actually. That can be for another time. But it depends on you, what comes through you, all right? Also, I want to be very specific about this stuff. It is a spontaneous movement practice. However, it is not chaotic. It might be at first. It probably will be at first. It will seem to have absolutely no rhyme or reason whatsoever. However, the movements are not the point. I cannot stress that enough. If you get attached to, I'm moving spontaneously, therefore I am amazing, or I am doing the practice correctly. Not necessarily. That is not the point. All right? The point is to, again, have equal parts awareness and keying in, tuning into the energy and that beautiful, wonderful, spontaneous flow that is moving through all of us all the time. That is what animates us in this world, in this universe. The Dai-Chi force between yin and yang, to put some theory out there. That's the point, is to, and allowing it to happen, right? So, keyed in, allowing it to happen. Yang, yin. Do you understand? All right. So, after you go through the chaotic purification, and again, not just allowing yourself to, to randomly, like, just have it be random, and then that's the point. That is not the point. The point is to be purified by this energy moving through you. That's the point. So it will purify all the chakras, it will purify the nadis, it will purify the meridians, all of that. Everything will be cleared out. That's the point of the movements originally, all right? Movement, physical movement, takes Jing energy, which is the densest form of Qi. All right, and is also the most physically powerful. It's also connected to sexual energy. Not necessarily sexy sexual energy, but procreative force, the generative life force of the body, all right? And so when you do engage in that and you're moving, you're using Jing, that Jing is moved and fueled by the Dai-Chi force that you are keying into and allowing your body to move, allowing to cause your body to move, all right? So when those things get harmonized together, eventually everything gets cleared out, and eventually the movements will start to make sense, okay? So what I mean by that is you start out here, and this is kind of obvious. We're swirling and allowing these things. Then you start to do all this crazy nonsense, and you're purifying yourself. Eventually, it will be like, okay, you need to ground yourself, and you'll just go, and your hands will go down here. And you might still be, the more you build and ground, and you just key into that, you're still just with the same intention as I mentioned before, awareness, and whatever your intention is to key into the Dai-Chi force. Oh, I had laundry going. Confirmation. And allowing it to happen, and it will move you to exactly where you need to go. You need grounding now. And then, of course, the build-up happens, because one thing moves into another. Grounding, okay, I'm stable, and then it'll explode. Okay, that's how this practice works. Default mode. Yes. Okay. That's how this practice works. So again, from stillness comes movement. So grounding, stillness, 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 and then it'll explode. Then after you've all these crazy violent movements, you're freaking out for a while, and then you'll just get into a place where it's complete stillness. You need to allow what needs to happen, and you need to not direct it so much that you are pigeonholing it, right? Again, the intention is just to key into the Daichi force, into that constant spiraling, swirling energy that is moving through us all the time, and to allow the things to happen that need to happen, but constantly being aware of it and not letting yourself completely go, all right? So just some other things that I wanted to mention. This one's obvious. Grounding is obvious. You start to up here. You're working out energy in these higher chakras or these higher energy centers. This is also, you can think about it. Jing energy is down here, more towards the lower dantian, and it starts to mix and become qi proper. Qi proper is in the middle dantian, and it starts to mix and transmute into shun energy. And then shun is more in the upper dantian, and it starts to transmute back into pure Tao. Okay? So when your hands are moving in these different places, you are building up from the center of the earth. Whoa! And then it comes through, it explodes. And then if you're doing this kind of stuff, then you're working with denser chi, that denser energy. There are energy centers over here on the sides that you will start to work with. They're like pools, like reserves of energy that we rarely use in energy work, and yet they're very powerful to key into. And then you're up here, and you'll start to do these things, and up here, and out here, and that. And that's more the chi proper and shun energy, which is more spiritual and emotional. And so you'll get and then you'll also notice that the vocalizations that come through will make more sense. It'll be more emotional sounding when it's in the middle dantian region, like and these like sighs and emotional release and that kind of stuff. When it's down here, it is much more earthy and grounded, and this kind of like grumbly kind of stuff. It sounds scary to some people. I realize that, but this is just what happens. Okay, and up here, it'll be the more weird, nasally, high pitched, kind of stuff. You can watch something like Onmyoji, the movies. There's 2 of them, I think, that they made. Absolutely amazing depiction of Onmyodo, which is this Japanese art, which was a combination of like Shinto and Taoism, Taoist practices. They were called the Yin-Yang Masters. That's the way they phrase it in English. I consider myself almost to be an Onmyoji just because of the things that I do. And you will hear the sort of shamanic singing, the weird sounds that come out of them during these practices. And of course, they're banging drums and different instruments are all in play at the time. And it sounds exactly like that weird singing that happens to me when I just spontaneously have this stuff come through me. Okay? So, a lot of talking. I realize that. I am just trying to explain to you what this practice is, where it comes from, what it does, and why you shouldn't be afraid of it. However, I'm also trying to give you a certain amount of theory and information so that you can practice it safely. All right? That's the whole deal. So I'm going to go back into the spontaneous flow. And again, I am just intending... another thing that'll happen is this front and forward mixing. You'll see me do this a lot. This is literally stirring the microcosmic orbit and the macrocosmic orbit, all right? And so energy moves up the spine, up here, and then comes down. And all of the dantians are getting mixed together. That's really what the point of the practice is, energetically at least, is converting the energy before Jing into Jing, converting Jing into Qi, converting Qi into Shun, and eventually converting that Shun into pure Tao. And then it comes back down, you crazy bitches, and you're converting, or you're cultivating pure Tao energy from the very beginning. That's when you start to be a Taoist master, a wizard, that kind of thing. So, let's have some new music. Wow, I can't believe we're that far in. Oh, wait. Let's do this one. This is a little more shamanic. I'm just gonna go crazy for a bit. Thanks for sticking with me. I know this is a long thing. Then I'm going to show you how to close down. When you end up doing this, you're doing the sort of large spiral twisting energy around the body, and then eventually it will move to the opposite side. So again, eventually the movements will make sense. Good stuff. And you can also see the spontaneous shamanic vocalization sometimes comes through as what seems more like light language, right? So, the thing that we're all familiar with at this point in the New Age or whatever. So, modern spiritual work, people are crazy into light language. I was one of the first people, I found myself on the back to this, to put light language online. It didn't exist before, 20 years ago, it wasn't there. I'm not saying I invented it or whatever, that's stupid. But I was one of the first people to just like broadcast it to the world. Light language happens, This is before real language even existed and stuff was happening. Alright, so what else did I want to say? If you're just doing this ecstatic shamanic movement practice, once you finish, this is how we close down. And you must always close down, okay? So, and I can't stress that enough. There are many things to this whole process that I cannot stress enough. One is the grounding, protection, the shielding, all of that stuff that we went through at the beginning. The other one is closing down. If you're only able to practice a spontaneous movement practice or an ecstatic shamanic, whatever, all the different terms, for 5 minutes, and you get into a good flow, oh crap, I gotta get to work, you still need to close down. This is a very disruptive energy practice. You will be open and you will be scattered do not close down, and if you are open and scattered, people can take your energy. You will tune into things that you don't necessarily want to tune into and get distracted by them. You might not have a clear head. You need to close down. Okay, so once we're finished being all crazy and blah 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 and singing and chanting and having all the spontaneous utterance come out, we dip down back deeply as possible, and we scoop energy up from the sides, and we rain it back down over the head, in front of the body, and then we cross the hands in front of the navel. This is one breath. Inhale. Exhale. And allow yourself to find that sort of spontaneous, natural, I wouldn't say spontaneous, natural flow to get it back to, right? One more breath with the hands over the navel. Inhale. Exhale. Again. Inhale. Exhale. I'm only doing that so that you know which is which. It's another way to do it closer to the body. One breath in between. This is another way to do it. Figure out why it's been slightly difficult. It's just the camera. Putting down, palms pointing towards the body. That's another way to do it. And then begin down here. The movement and the concentrating by crossing the hands over the navel concentrates and pushes energy into the lower dantian. that is good, but even better is keeping the mind, conscious awareness, focused in the lower dantian during the entire closing down sequence. Okay. You can do that, you're on your way to being a master. It is a completely different experience. Your actual awareness is now centered in the lower dantian. Notice yourself sliding way down. Another cool thing to do is to use this, what we call it mudra or posture. It's just a hand position. So the navel is in the direct center of this incarnation. Okay? Lower dantian, midpoint is probably about here. Navel is here. This really concentrates energy into that space. Okay? And you can just sit there and just sink the mind into the lower dantian or concentrate on breathing through the navel. That was one breath from the time I said navel. When you concentrate down there, everything becomes much slower, and it's supposed to be a single continuous breath. There is no separation between the inhale and the exhale, if that makes sense. Okay. So again, you can do that with this. You know those old Moai statues and the statues at Göbekli Tepe? They're all with their hands pointing towards their bellies. I have my own opinions on that because it might sound ridiculous to you, but I believe that this is an indication of where their consciousness was centered at those particular points in history. See, the ancient Egyptians will do this in some of their things. I believe that is an indication that they were centered in the heart. We are typically up here, right? So it's just my own thing, but this is what we're doing. We're trying to pull all this energy and spirit and consciousness back into the meat of us, okay, the base of us, not the base chakra. That's a different thing. But why do we still say follow your gut? There's nothing about your gut physically that knows anything, and yet that is still ingrained in us because, oh no, I feel it. And your gut does feel things in that sense. It's because consciousness can be placed in different places within the body. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do. It's also said in some Taoist schools of thought that if you are able to connect your perfect consciousness, your original consciousness, your original spirit, Yuan Shen, into the Dantian, the lower Dantian, that is creating the golden elixir. That is achieving the Tao. Interesting. Okay, so once we've done that, and that's a Qigong thing, then we're going to concentrate just on the lower Dantian, like we were doing before, the but with a more stable mudra and no movement. That's how we close them. I'm not going to do that. You can do it if you want to. That's how we close down from the movement practice, the ecstatic stuff. Now, I promised that in this we would also explore Xayun Waho. That is also a way to continue the practice and with the ecstatic movement, the shamanic movement, and all of that. And to close down if you want to do that. So what we're doing is breaking ourselves apart with the movement and all of the spiraling Tai Chi force and all of that. And then we're putting ourselves back together with a powerful energy like Xayun Waho. So I'm going to see what it wants to do, and we'll go from there. This energy typically is best expressed through the heart or the solar plexus, which is close to the lower dantian. I've had problems in the past, like deciding whether or not I should mix it with the Taoist stuff. What I'm feeling now. It's a big mix of things, actually. I'm just going to let it flow. You just experience the energy, set your intention to receive this from me. It's so thick and so protective and so grounding and stable and wonderful that to me, if you're able to concentrate to a place like the lower dantian, solar plexus area, and start working with an energy like this, then that's enough to protect yourself and then go out into the world and do whatever. Whoa, okay. People are really eating this up. Moving to the heart space now. It was in the solar plexus before. The funny thing about combining these two practices, again, it's a very stable and fulfilling, I don't know if that's the right word, it's a very stable, filling. It's filling. It's a filling energy, It gets in between the cracks of things. And fills all of your energy centers and just continually like expands outward and then aids outward. Not like whatever, but just like like slow and thick and full. And interestingly enough, because of the nature, as I was saying, of the Tai Chi force and what it is, and the movement back and forth between the poles of yin and yang, you can do that enough and get really stabilized by Xayun Waho, and then it'll explode again, especially if you're working with the ecstatic shamanic movement and all that stuff. I wanted to do more specific stuff with Xayun Waho, but I'm just feeling like sending it out there to you guys, and I think you will respond the way you need to respond. I could probably do that for a while. If you had any questions about either of these practices, just contact me personally. Again, the suggested donation for this event is $20. Obviously, you don't have to do that. I appreciate all the support you can give me to encourage me to continue to do this stuff if you do in fact enjoy it. Yeah, so I will put my info for that. It should be in the event information, but I'll put it in the chat before I sign off. And if you have any questions about Xayun Waho, we used to call it Kadua, or why I got away from that name and that labeling and the people associated with it, then I would love to talk to you about that. I do offer the transmission itself so that you can work with the energy by itself. And again, there are different varieties, I call them aspects to it. And also how to combine that using an external or a sort of foreign energy source like Xayun Waho or Reiki or something like that in the context of the ecstatic shamanic practice that we just outlined and practiced. This is what I've been doing almost my entire spiritual journey. These two practices, or this energy and this other practice, is what I've been working with and merging this entire time. And there's so many beautiful, rich things to explore with both of them. All right, you have during the ecstatic shamanic movement practice, you have your spiritual arsenal in front of you, and your rattle and your incense and your things, and you'll just notice yourself just like keying onto them and using them. That's why it's a spontaneous form of shamanism. The energy will get attached to certain objects and know how to use them for what. I remember I took a stick with a friend or whatever, and I let the energy build up and poked him right in this little spot on his back, and he started almost vomiting, because this energy was just moving through him and purifying. It wasn't bad, I say vomiting, it's like, oh, you made him sick. No, it was this thing coming through that needed to be purified, that needed to come through. Different energy channels, specifically, probably some type of meridian, like doing acupuncture or whatever, but with a stick. And it was just this random stick that I found, and that's where the energy wanted to go, and that's what it did, and that's the experience that we had. Everything becomes medicine when you can key into this energy, the Tai Chi force, and allow it to move through you. That's where the spontaneous flow comes from. May also be responsible for this new thing they call the flow state, So again, flow state, form of trance. This is a form of trance, ecstatic practice, etc., etc., etc. There's so many beautiful and delicious things that you can explore with the energy of Xayun Waho as well. Solar, lunar, you can purify and bolster the masculine part of yourself, the feminine part of yourself. You can mix those two things together in an alchemical sort of way. You can use Xayun Waho to enhance emotional states. So in your heart space, using the energy there and connecting it with compassion or joy, and they just get bigger and brighter and thicker and fuller and expand outward and become more powerful than you've probably ever experienced before in your life. You can use Xayun Waho to enter into trance states or altered states of consciousness that are essentially akin to taking an entheogenic substance like mushrooms or LSD or even cannabis or something like that. Something that you get my meaning. And then when you close down and get yourself back to your center, it's all gone. You do not have to wait 6 hours for the experience to be over. Did just talk to somebody who is working with somebody else. He is a level 3 practitioner, and I think he overloaded his friend. First of all, she had a nosebleed, so that was some pretty intense shit. And then she was basically, his specific words were tripping balls for like 45 minutes. I don't recommend going that far, but just to let you know, this is the type of thing that can happen when you're using an energy like this. Obviously, you want to do it slowly and gently and safely. I hope you do that if you're working with it or if you start working with it. But this is how intense it can become. These are both completely separate practices, so imagine what you can do with both of them together. If you are working with the Ikanduwa, or what I'm now calling Xayun Waho, or have been doing that for a while and you feel like you've been stuck, then getting into the ecstatic shamanic movement practice is just going to unlock all of those things, and suddenly it's going to explode out of you, okay? So these things are like, I don't know, fire and gasoline in a really good way, or something like that. That's probably a terrible analogy. It sounds very dangerous. All that aside, I'm going to put my info in there if you want to get in touch with me personally, or you can just comment on this video or contact me through the YouTube channels and all of that good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please help support your favorite local neighborhood shaman. Put my stuff in the thing. I love you guys. That's pretty much it. It's that. It's that. Necessary capitals. So if you want to be a continual supporter of my work, that always encourages me every single month. I do have a Patreon. I do not, I'm not doing merch, and I'm not doing like something specific other than I want to continue to do these type of events every Saturday, and I want to continue to do the Xayun Waho energy healing 3 sessions every Friday. So again, if you want to know more, just ask. And yeah, that's it. I will see you guys next time.